Good morning, YouTube. We got faith-led living and faith-led healing in the house, and my Zoom is in front of me. So I really want to just check in today. We've been talking about some really heavy things and some things that have really caused people to have some deep sessions with themselves, let's say. We've been talking about a lot of different things. And, just to recap, we've talked about questioning our beliefs. We've talked about, that change can be scary and that it's not about perfection. It's about the direction that we're heading in and how to handle uncertain times. How to discern the truth from the lies. So I believe that all of these things have led people and some people to, good afternoon, Miss Jane and Kent. They are joining from Ecuador, and it's morning here, but afternoon there. So I'm happy you guys are here. Get in the chat. I do have my iPad here. Let me know how you guys are doing, how you guys are feeling, if you guys have questions, any comments on anything going on in our world. There we go. Got rid of that. And let me get live on here so I can see the chat. Okay. All right. So interesting. I go into it and it doesn't show. There we are. Okay. I got it. Maybe. It's still fighting with me. The faith-led living chat does not want to come up for me. So Jane, I'm not going to be able to see what you're saying unless it's on the screen and I can read it fast, but I'm going to try. So checking in with you guys, the election was last week, and, some of us are super excited about the results of the election. Some of us are really not excited, and it's been interesting to see the things being said, the fears people have, the terrible place it's left many people. We're in odd times. The thing I want to remind you guys is that God is on the throne. God is on the throne. God is present. God is leading. God is guiding. And, in regard to our election, what I want to share with you is just watch and see what happens. My question to you is, are you praying for God to be in everything? Are you praying for our leaders? Are you praying for the goodness to be restored to our country? And, we've got people joining us from all over the globe. I know my dear friend David from Africa has been watching closely, praying for our country. People are seeing what is going on. And I truly believe also that people are seeing God's hand in things. I believe that they're going to see restoration. And it's going to take all of us. We need to be on our knees. We need to be praying not only for our country and our leaders and where God is taking us, but we also need to pray for ourselves and our families. And, we have great control over the division that was created in and over the last several years. We are able to control that. We are able to change that. And we have to remember that we are in control of a lot of things. And that stems back to being in control of ourselves. And we've talked about a lot of these things. And I see a lot of people being in a very fearful place still. Being afraid of what all these changes mean. And over these last many weeks when I've been sharing on all of these subjects, Hey, Mr. Keith. Mr. Keith is joining us from New Zealand. Heaps of people from California and Virginia trying to come here since your election. Sorry, man. Anyway, I'm sure. The thing that I am trying to instill in all of you is that although we go through difficult times, what I am trying to teach you is to learn how to go through difficult times and they're no longer difficult. And that may be hard to wrap your head around, but when we have the tools in our tool belt that enable us to keep ourselves in a really good place, despite where we're walking and what we have to walk through, that is everything. You know, we can't change other people. We can't change circumstances. We can control very little in this world. However, we feel that we're invincible and we can control everything. We try to control everything. However, we really don't have control of a whole lot. And the biggest thing that we have control over is ourselves and our minds. Good morning, Miss Laura. And I wanted to just touch on this today to give you guys some tools and to give you guys some guidance and direction. And just to share some things with you. So the biggest thing in all of this, Miss Jane says, we have been in power outages for 2 months due to the biggest drought in 60 years here. Our electricity and hydroelectricity. Let me see if I can get back in there yet. It's still not letting me in there. Technology's great, except when it doesn't work. All right. Well, I am sorry to hear that, Miss Jane. How dependent are you on the electricity in your new build? I imagine pretty much. There are people going through hard times all over, and trust me, I know what hard times are. I know what difficult is, and when I say that I'm trying to teach you how to go through difficult times and to enable it not to be difficult, I am speaking from a place of experience. And after visiting with a client yesterday, it really made me sit and ponder a bunch of things. I realized that during my healing journey, the reason I am where I am today is because during my healing journey, I was not chasing the magic pill, and I wasn't chasing being healthy. Our bridge washed away October 6th, so no access to town, lots of walking. Well, the good and the bad of that is it's unfortunate that you lost your bridge. Go with the flow. Amen. But walking is like super good. Like that was like the best tool in my healing journey. So walking is good. It is an all body aid. Keeps our circulation going, keeps our breathing going, really works in the body. So you'll be good and healthy on the other side of this and strong. But that is unfortunate. And I imagine that's because it rained finally and it just ran because it was in abundance. That's really crazy. So in my healing journey, I wasn't chasing being well. I was working on it, but it wasn't my main focus, and I never really thought about that until yesterday. My main focus shifted after my surgery and when I was flat on my back. I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be in that difficult time. I was focused on the difficulty of being flat on my back, of depending on my son and my husband to take care of me and not being able to do anything. I was listening to the lies of the enemy telling me I was worthless, lazy, useless, all those things the enemy loves to share with us. But I felt really compelled to purchase a Bible that I could understand. And I don't know if you can read this, but this is from my journey. And this is exactly what I do. And this is exactly how I do it. I fight my battles with this bad boy. And this is what I purchased. And reading it this morning and yesterday, because it took me to the same place, I realized that this is part of what I need to share with you today. You know, I've been telling you to have that relationship with God, to pull into God. And I'm gonna share some things that you can leave behind also. But it was because of my focus on this right here that I took my focus off of where I was. I still wanted to be well, but I realized that I was stepping it out one day at a time because that's all I could do. I was flat on my back. I couldn't do anything. And I could be filling my head with garbage and following social media and watching YouTube. And let me tell you that this was also an aha moment I had yesterday. That was when I left Facebook. I had 13,000 people following us under Trayer Wilderness, and I totally walked away. And I shouldn't say I totally walked away. I'd go on there and I would share something on our business page. But as far as what was going on in everybody else's life and all the drama that Facebook likes to highlight, I left it. And you know what? I haven't really returned. And that was life-giving to me. The other thing was I had to walk away from toxic people during that time. And although it was as though I experienced a loss, like a death in my life, it was the absolute best thing I could have ever done for myself at that time. And this was all God-led. God led me to do all of those things. And He is leading you too. If you've been following all the suggestions and all these different topics and you're diving in and you're trying to make these changes to make your life better, and now all of a sudden you've hit this place of oh my gosh, I'm just nothing but a disaster and I've got so many things I've got to adjust all at one time. Don't feel that way. Self-growth is so valuable. And it's no different than anything else. We need to do things one thing at a time. And bit by bit, a little becomes a lot. And we need to just focus on one thing at a time. You know, if you found that there's a bunch of different things you need to address and adjust and you want to change, even that you desire to change, I want you to take those things to God and ask Him to guide your steps. Because I guarantee you, He's not going to ask you to do all those things at one time. He's going to walk you through each of those things and help grow you. Here's the other thing. Difficult times, people focus on the difficulty. The way you get to be able to walk through difficult times and they no longer feel difficult is because you're not looking at the difficult situation. You're looking to what you can gain, glean, learn, and grow through this situation. That's why I realized yesterday that I don't see difficulty as difficulty anymore. It's just another day. It's another process. It's another step. It might be another tool in my tool belt. But when difficulty comes, I don't skip a beat and I don't view it through negative lenses. My pink shady glasses serve me well again. I see it through a positive lens. And, you know, I was told many times growing up that those pink shady glasses were going to be my demise, but they're actually my blessing because it is keeping me in a place, one that I treasure, because it has enabled me to be in a place, regardless what it is that I'm walking out, you know, even a preparedness situation, and I handle it calmly and I'm looking in the right place for the answers. I'm not panicking through it. I'm not worried about it. I mean, we went to bed Tuesday night And we said to God, you know, we praise you now. We praise you tomorrow, regardless what things look like, because he is the path we are following, not all of our leaders. We're following him. We're following where he's taking us. And regardless what's going on around us and all the chaos that we might be experiencing and that is present, it doesn't affect you the same when your eyes are on him and you're not focused on the difficulties. So I hope that makes sense. Let me just read something to you. This is Proverbs 3, 12 through 28. For the Lord corrects those he loves, just as a father corrects a child in whom he delights. Joyful is the person who finds wisdom, the one who gains understanding. For wisdom is more profitable than silver, and her wages are better than gold. Wisdom is more precious than rubies. Nothing you desire can compare with her. She offers you long life in her right hand and riches and honor in her left. She will guide you down delightful paths. All her ways are satisfying. Wisdom is a tree of life to those who embrace her. Happy are those who hold her tightly. By wisdom the Lord founded the earth. By understanding he created the heavens. By his knowledge the deep fountains of the earth burst forth, and the dew settles beneath the night sky. My child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them, for they will refresh your soul. They are like the jewels on a necklace. They keep you safe on your way, and your feet will not stumble. You can go to bed without fear. You will lie down and sleep soundly. You need not be afraid of sudden disaster or the destruction that comes upon the wicked, for the Lord is your security. He will keep your foot from being caught in a trap. That right there is like tremendous promises and tremendous security. And I've been sharing with you for a very long time the importance of seeking discernment. And common sense comes with wisdom, knowledge, direction, and discernment. That is why every day I demand the enemy to leave, and I ask Papa to fill me up, and I ask Papa for wisdom, knowledge, direction, and discernment. I need him to guide my days. I don't depend on myself anymore to guide my days. I have a very long to-do list. It's there, it's present, but he dictates my day instead of me looking at that to-do list and allowing that to-do list to dictate my day, which causes anxiety, stress, and overwhelm because it's very long. You know, we allow things to cause us to be overwhelmed and stressed and worried and fearful. And, I just realized I didn't do something. Good morning, Miss Deb. Good morning, good morning. I saw you text and then I saw you show up in my right-hand corner here, so I'm glad you're with us. I've been thinking of you heavily. You have been absent and I've missed you. Whoop. So let me share more on this. Got the bookmark caught in my hand. There we go. So here's the most additional part to this. That was not good English, but two thoughts came at the same time. 27 and 28 say, do not withhold good from those who deserve it when it's in your power to help them. If you can help your neighbor now, don't say come back tomorrow and then I'll help you. So I want to share a little bit of what's been coming to my mind over these thoughts and over the last couple days. You know, helping others through our difficult times also takes our focus off of our situation. During my healing journey, we were able to bless another family and we were able to bless others. We had a full larder, and although, you know, I wasn't able to do anything, we had done plenty before. As I teach you guys on the Faith-Led Living channel, the importance of being prepared for anything that comes our way. And, you know, we had plenty of firewood and we were hooked up. We ate like kings and queens during a time when we had nothing because we prepared ahead of time. And during that season, I was able to bless somebody else from my pantry shelves. Being able to bless others during our seasons of difficulty is also very valuable. However, there's also a period in our difficult seasons too, especially if you're on a healing journey, where it's not selfish to focus on yourself. It's important to get yourself to a very strong place and a healthy place and a connected place with the source so that you are able to then help others. So I wanted to mention that. And I think it's really important that we are seeking wisdom. You know, regardless how we feel about the things going on in our world, God will guide us, but we need to be focusing on Him and asking Him for that direction. He will give it to you. If through the conversations we've been having over the last 2 months and with the election, because as I said, some are happy, some are sad, some are distraught, you know, what is causing your anxiety and your worries and your fears and your frustrations right now? Is it watching what everybody else is doing and saying? Because if that's the case, we have to remember that we are not defined by other people's dysfunction. We are also not defined by other people's inability to see our worth. You know, some of us may have family, for example, that's far left and we're far right. And, you know, that in and of itself can create division. We need to learn to love each other despite our differences, despite how we think. And maybe we can personally do that, but they are unable. You know, we are not defined by their inability to see our worth in this situation. And there are times where we need to limit access to things, whether that is people, whether that is Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is. If you do not handle watching how other people are behaving or the things people are saying, it's time to pull away. A dear friend of mine and I were talking, and this is just so true. You know, and it was mentioned in our community about how previous times and when we were growing up, was it that we were naive and we didn't see this stuff when we were growing up? Well, let's reflect a little on that, because I think this is an extremely important discussion. We may have been a little naive because things were happening then too, just not to the degree that they are happening now. Things have definitely changed. When I was growing up, there wasn't internet. If you wanted to research something, you had to go to the library. If you wanted to talk to a friend, you had to call them or go visit them. It wasn't this constant flow of stuff in our faces. Life was simpler. I lived that simple life. I like that simple life. Because of that exact reason, I can choose what is filling my time. And we all have that opportunity to choose that. However, this is where the enemy uses all of this. How many of you feel like you need to be scouring for information and researching and filling your time, that you can't handle silence? And let me ask you this, how many of you like the silence? Okay, Laura's waving her hand. Okay. And, you know, that used to be me. That used to be me. And Deb's shaking her head. Okay. I used to feel like I had to be searching for stuff all the time. And that I had to be connected all the time. And if I wasn't serving people. But here's the thing. You know, back in those simpler times, people were healthier. People were more stable. They weren't as anxious. They weren't as worried. Why? Because a lot of the time they were outside or they were doing things that nurtured their soul. That is what I want to encourage you guys to go back to. If you are feeling overwhelmed by what you are seeing, Stop looking at it. And I don't mean to laugh disrespectfully. I was there too. And I'm not making light of this at all. But I'm laughing because it's that simple. It's that simple. Stop looking at it. Stop chasing it. You know, we can't, it's just like the election, you know. So many people stayed up till all hours of the night to find the answers. For me, and no disrespect on this either, that was not my path. I wasn't losing valuable sleep and good healing REM sleep to find out something that I could find out in the morning that wouldn't make a difference if I found it out in the middle of the night or now. Or in the morning. It didn't matter. It wouldn't change anything. And I wasn't about to lose my sleep because my sleep is valuable to me. They didn't know all the labels they could use as excuses. Yes, very good, Deb. Very good. And so these are the tools in your tool belt, is discernment. Pay attention to what is rattling your cage. Pay attention to how you feel. If you are, and this is a tough one. If currently, and this is why I say it's important to surround ourselves with the right people. If you are in company of people that are bringing you down and are rattling your cage, and it just doesn't feel good right now, many of us don't know what boundaries are. We weren't brought up with boundaries. I wasn't. I know what boundaries are now because I learned them and I needed them, and they have served me well. Boundaries aren't a bad thing. We need to put boundaries in place. So maybe you need to, sever ties for a while. I'm not saying like completely walk away from people unless that is absolutely necessary. Like if you're in a situation where it's abuse, then yes, you need to walk away from that and get help. But sometimes we just need to, not give certain people so much of our time, and we can pull away a little bit and just take a break, take a hiatus from that relationship, because that's exactly what I did in 2016. It ended up being like a 2 or 3 year hiatus. That was necessary. That 2 or 3 year hiatus for me allowed me to grow in myself. It allowed me to figure out boundaries. It allowed me to see things differently. It allowed me to find strength in myself and realize that I am okay and I am a good person and I do have value, even though that particular person didn't see my value. And the other thing I've learned through that process is I am not defined by their dysfunction. And that's important to know, that they can be as dysfunctional as they want to be, but I don't need to any longer own that. And that is true also of, I don't have a cell phone and find having 12,000 miles between me and toxic family very healing. Yes, and that's just it. We need to figure out what works for us, and that is exactly what worked for me in my healing journey. I was 2,500 miles away from the source, and I was able to really get a connection with who I am meant to be, because I was no longer allowing myself to be defined by what they were saying. And the same is true with anything you watch online, is that, we are not defined by other people's dysfunction. We are not defined by what they feel or what they think. And that's important, that we have the ability to be in situations where other people think differently, but we don't have to own it. We don't have to feel it. And if you currently are owning things and feeling things, then step back for a while and get yourself to a place and ask Papa to help you get to the place where you no longer feel that dysfunction, that it is no longer affecting your mind, your body, your health. and that you are able to separate yourself from it. And that is one of the most powerful tools we can give ourselves. Taking care of priorities in our lives and staying focused on important issues. Yeah, that's just it. We've allowed the world to dictate our lives in such a very powerful and strong way that we are not able to walk away from it. And when you have a few minutes to yourself, instead of just being silent or taking some time with God, you have to have noise. And that quiet time is good for you personally, but it also enables us to hear God's still small voice. And I've been talking about that, and many people don't understand how to hear that or how to get to that place. But you'll never get there if you don't walk into the quiet, and if you're not okay in the quiet. There's nothing wrong with the quiet. Everybody feels, everybody that feels a struggle in the quiet is because you've become so used to all the noise. And you need to, get out in nature. If you don't know how to get into the quiet, rather than just going quiet in your house and it being overwhelming, get out into nature. Leave your phone behind and get out into nature and just listen to the sounds around you. That'll be the first thing you can do to really help you enter that place of stillness. And then just keep adding to that, or keep getting out more and more. And then when you get in your house, like right now, I have a candle burning next to me in a little mini chimney. Actually, I'll show you. This is like so cute. These are the kind of things you need to do for yourself. Just enjoy things that make you happy. In the early mornings, I get up. I have candles burning in a lantern near me. Very nice, Deb. Beautiful foliage. But I have candles burning in a lantern. I get my coffee, and I just sit in the quiet. It's so relaxing, so enjoyable, and so necessary. Deb says, I decided 8 months ago that I was going to focus on getting my property paid off by the end of this year and then moved that date to before election. I own my 5 acres and home free and clear as of October 30th, paid off in 12 years. Very awesome. Good for you, Miss Deb. See? Focus. Focus on the right things, focusing on the things that are important. And all those things that you feel are impossible are not impossible, especially with God in it, because with God, all things are possible. And I want to read something else to you guys. Your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. Your laws are my treasure. They are my heart's delight. I am determined to keep your decrees to the very end. And my suffering was good for me, for it taught me to pay attention to your decrees, and your instructions are more valuable to me than millions in gold and silver. This is also part of my healing journey. Those are things that were highlighted during my healing journey. And it is so important that we are able to focus on Him. And, difficult times, my suffering was good for me. And truly, I believe that everybody needs to experience some form of discomfort in their life, because it takes us to a deeper place, a deeper knowing. It grows us immensely to the person that we are meant to become. But the strength and the wisdom and the knowledge and the discernment that comes from that is so powerful. And it takes us to this place where when we walk through difficult times, they are no longer difficult. Our perspective changes. And that is what I want to encourage you guys to keep walking out. So if you are, if you were questioning all your beliefs and you were questioning everything, and now all of a sudden you realize that everything needed to be questioned, and now you don't know which direction to go because everything that you believed and thought before is no longer valid. Welcome to adventure. For real. And welcome to the freedom of changing your beliefs and aligning your beliefs with God, with what the Word says, with truth. People are afraid of change. People are afraid to grow. People are afraid of discomfort. But in all of those things, that is where the greatest growth and the greatest change takes place. Thankfully for me, I like stepping out of my comfort zone. It enables me. I love adventure. So stepping out of my comfort zone just takes me on this adventurous trip, on this amazing ride. And I'm the kind of person that I'm always anxious to see what's around the next corner. I'm not afraid of it. I invite it. I invite it greatly because I like that. It's invigorating to me, and I like change. I have never been a person that has been afraid of change because I've had to embrace life in a very different way from my youth up. And I had to make life what it was if I wanted it to be good. And that was instilled in me from the very beginning of time, because without that, I would have been rocking in a corner. And Lord only knows where I would be today if I didn't grab hold of that. And that was Him instilling that in me. That was Him enabling me to chase the right things and keeping my eyes focused on chasing the right things. Don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of discomfort. Don't be afraid of difficulty. Don't be afraid of a healing journey. You know, I still struggle from time to time. As a matter of fact, this is really gross, but Sunday, I woke up with parasites coming out of my eyes. I'm on a very deep dive parasite cleanse. And Miss Jane says me either, but we're a bit more cautious as we get older. Well, I'm glad you're adventurous. I'm not as cautious yet. I'm not quite there yet. I'm enjoying this of just stepping out and embracing what's around the next corner. The parasites in the eye were not really something I was embracing, but I was happy and grateful that they were coming out. But I do experience struggles just like the rest of you. Just because I've walked out a 9-year healing journey, it'll be 9 years, January 26th. Crazy to believe. But it has brought me here, and I'm really happy with here. I'm really happy with the growth I've found and the person I've become and the things and the baggage I've left behind and the incorrect beliefs that I was carrying. I do have value. I do have worth. And so do all of you. And I don't want you to be afraid of these places. If you're in any of these places, I want you to just learn to pause. When you get really, really anxious and you get overwhelmed and you're fearful and you're worried, for one, my community is accessible to everybody. And it is a great place to feel like you're not alone, because you're going to see people sharing very transparently on their own journeys and me sharing my own journey. And the other beauty is that we pray for one another. We lock arms. We surround each other. And that is really, really valuable, because otherwise we often do feel like we're all alone. And I will be the first to share with you that I know what it's like. For starters, I have short arms. A mountain man, praise the Lord, he's tall and he has long arms because he reaches everything I can't. But there are days that I couldn't reach my bootstraps. For a while, that was literal and figurative. But when we can't reach our bootstraps and we feel lost and lonely and not sure what direction to go in, it takes great strength, not weakness, to ask for people to pray for you. That is a strength. Whoever said that you're weak because you asked for help needs to be smacked upside the head. For real. Because it takes great strength to let people know and to be transparent that I am struggling. Today is hard. And you know what? God brought all of you, Jane, Keith, Deb, Laura, all of you. I prayed during that season in my life when God stripped me of people because they weren't serving and they didn't belong in my corner. They were harmful. They were harming me. And it took him stripping them from me for me to realize that I had the wrong people in my corner. They weren't empowering me. They weren't encouraging me. And instead of being fearful and saying, you know what, screw this, I'm never going to connect with people again. I'm not letting people in. And granted, I didn't let people close for a while, but I didn't go there. The letting people close was a smart move. It was a new boundary setting, and I needed to learn how to work that setting. But I prayed. I prayed for God to bring the right people to me, and all of you appeared. And, you know, there's purpose in that. And the same will happen for you. If you're fearful and worried, you don't have to worry. God will bring what you ask for. God will bring what you need. But he does want that time with you. So Miss Laura says, so are you saying to stop pushing? Without pushing, I fear I would lie down and die. Every day now, I pray for God to guide my feet and give me the desires to make me a better vessel for him. But how do I know that I'm not just being lazy? How do I know I'm doing what I need to do so God can do what God does? Okay, that's a great question. How do you decipher laziness from resting in him? Okay, are you too tired to do anything else? Does it pain you to do the normal day-to-day things? Okay? Now I want you to think about this because I love you. If it pains you to do your general day-to-day tasks and you sit down to rest, are you lazy? You are not lazy. Do you see how the enemy lies? Do you see how rotten? He's in your corner right now. In the name of Jesus, I demand the enemy to leave Laura, her home, her thoughts, her body, her mind. In the name of Jesus. That is how the enemy infiltrates. That is how the enemy takes our joy, steals our joy. And to be honest, I think the word lazy should be removed from the dictionary. You know, this is how I view my life. I do what I can do each day. And let me tell you, Miss Laura, I'm grateful you shared that because other people need to hear it. And it's important to see how the enemy gets in and how he gets a foothold and then how he deepens that foothold. You know, I was in that same place. I was feeling lazy. And anytime I took time for myself, before my healing journey, during my healing journey, through my healing journey, it made me feel that way. And I'm like, you know what? That's a feeling that comes only from the enemy. So now when I decide that it's a day that, you know, I'm pushing through and good things aren't happening. I'm pushing through and I'm not getting things accomplished. Am I serving myself or others? No, really, I'm not. I'm not serving myself or others right now. The best thing I can do is just rest. Or you feel so tired that you can't keep your eyes open. And you need to, you know, you have to struggle to function. Why are we pushing forward? Why are we trying hard to make something happen when we are just being called to rest? And, you know, sometimes, okay, this is perfect. Thank you, Miss Laura, for this, because I did want to read this today, but I didn't know how it would fit in. I was feeling the need to read this. And I'm gonna go there really quick, and I'm gonna read this to us. because we do need to hear this, and we do need to realize that he does guide us and he does direct us to things. You know, just as the enemy is in there making you feel that way, Papa will keep pushing and leading you to rest. When things don't work, when things don't, you just keep hitting a wall. It's like he's saying, come on now, I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to get you to rest, but you're just not hearing me. And that's where we need to learn. All right, it's not working. I need to find it this way. I'm just gonna. We are not lazy. Papa desires us to rest. Rest in him, to rest our vessels. You know, we are his vessel, and we aren't called to keep pushing through. That's why each week we are requested to have a day of rest. And it's super important. But we, as humans and as flesh and as the world dictates, that we're supposed to just keep moving and we're supposed to push through. And if we don't, we're lazy. That's a bunch of bull. We need to rest, and we need to listen to him telling us to rest. And in a healing journey, we need rest more than we need anything else. And we need to rest in that place. And it's hard to rest in that place. That's why when we're resting in that place, we need to pull into him. And the more we pull into him during that place of rest, instead of filling it with all kinds of noise, is where we will get close. We will hear that still small voice, his still small voice, and the enemy keeps getting kicked to the curb. And as you are sitting there and hearing the enemy tell you are lazy, you keep flicking him off, and you keep expressive writing, and you keep writing how he's making you feel, and you burn it, because how he is making you feel needs to be burned. It's not it's a lie. And the more we kick that lie to the curb, the more the truth sets in and the more the truth settles in. So one night I had a wondrous dream. One set of footprints there was seen, the footprints of my precious Lord, but mine were not along the shore. But then some stranger prints appeared, and I asked the Lord, what have we here? Those prints are large and round and neat, but Lord, they are too big for feet. But child, he said in a somber tone, for miles I carried you alone. I challenged you to walk in faith, but you refused and made me wait. You disobeyed, you would not grow, the walk of faith you would not know. So I got tired, I got fed up, and there I dropped you on your butt. Because in life there comes a time when one must fight and one must climb, when one must rise and take a stand, or leave your butt prints in the sand. This is our time to rise up. This is our time to stand up, not only in our world, but in our own personal lives. The enemy is trying to steal, kill, and destroy our families, our children, ourselves. He doesn't want us to be the powerful voice that we are called to be. And it all starts with implementing all the things I've been talking about. And when you are starting to put those things in place and you're questioning your beliefs, you're questioning how you think, you're putting boundaries in place, and it's hard. It's really hard, and you're confused and you're scared. You pull into God and you keep trusting him to take you the next step you need to go. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of this change that I'm asking you to implement, because I promise you, I'm leading the way, but I'm holding your hand. I want you, though, to be focused on him more than you're focused on me. I'm here because I'm his vessel to help you along the way, but he is the source. He is where you need to be connected, and he is where the answers come from. And, you know, like I said, our past was joyous. Many of us had really good childhoods. Despite my childhood being very difficult and very hard, I still look back and I love my childhood because of what I created. You know where I was? I was climbing trees. I was reading books in trees. I was playing in the dirt. I was playing in the creeks. I was miles and miles and miles away from my home because it was safe in the woods. It wasn't safe in my home. And you know what? That has led me to this life. I live in the middle of the wilderness. And soon I will be living in the middle of God's gracious place he's planting us in interior Alaska, where he is totally engulfing me. He engulfs me here too, but wherever we are, we have to realize we can be engulfed in God's beauty, in his presence, in his still small voice. All we need to do is turn off all the noise and get quiet. The internet was created with one great purpose, I believe. It is a great source, but you have to filter through to figure out which is valid, which isn't valid. Where when we just shut it off, we get back in the still quiet voice of Papa and the still quiet joys of life in our home. And I'm not saying the internet doesn't have purpose. Here we are. We get to visit together in this fashion. But turn it off from time to time. Walk away from it and ask God for discernment to see what is valid and what isn't. Miss Laura, I love you, and you got your answers today. You have value. You have purpose. You are beautiful. Your smile is contagious. You are beautifully, wonderfully made. This is a season. And here's the other thing that the enemy's not letting you see through all that. You were debilitated for 20 years, and now you are walking. You are inspiring other people to walk. You are getting out and doing things. Just because one day sets you back, and you, or even you set back, because in my healing journey, I had a lot of setbacks, but they were setups for good forward motion because I needed rest. Those setbacks are places of rest. Rest in his hands, rest in that place, and see how far you have come. That is the power of having God in your corner, but also having the right people surrounding you and not allowing the enemy to hold you in that corner and getting boxed left and right by his words and and him defeating you, where when you have people surrounding you, they can pull you up and carry you. You don't need to have your butt prints in the sand. You know, there is a time where we need to get ready to fight back, and we need to be in that place, because sometimes it takes us being willing to fight forward to move forward. But we also have to remember that there's the footprints in the sand. And he does want to carry you, and he does want to love you, and he does want to nurture you when you are in a place that needs it. Let him nurture you right now, girl. Let him nurture you right now. Know where you are. Know how far you've come. Know that he has every desire to keep moving you forward. But in order to do that, you need to keep kicking the enemy to the curb, because I guarantee you, if it wasn't for this, my steadfast prayers, my husband and son, and surrounding myself with the right people, I wouldn't be here either. I would have let the enemy keep me in that place. I'm grateful I have fight in me. I'm grateful that now I don't give him an inch. I know when he's coming in. I know when he's tearing things up, and I don't allow him that privilege. So YouTube, you guys have been on for the full ride. It is 9:56. We do breath work in 4 minutes. I'm going to pray. And let me just share real quick here. Miss Deb says, I'm asking for prayers. I did a heart stress test last Friday in Wenatchee, 100 miles south of home. I will be seeing a cardiologist on Wednesday, November 20th, as something abnormal is going on. A first for me for this kind of specialist, other than orthopedic for my knee, elbow, and wrist in the past. Well, we will be praying. And just know that Papa is in control. Ask him to guide your steps, and we will be asking the same. You got support. You know that. You know you've got our support. So I'm just going to pray us out of here. Papa, I just thank you for this day. I thank you for loving us. I thank you for being present all the time. We just need to pull into you. You are present watching us fumble, watching us succeed. But we need to pull into you in all those times, through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we need to be praising you through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we need to just keep strengthening our relationship with you so that we get to a place that difficult doesn't mean difficult. That difficult is just another place, and that we can get to see difficult as just another part of our journey and another place to grow, and that it's no longer difficult. Help us all to be able to really analyze and evaluate where we are. If we're struggling and we're fearful and we're worried and we're struggling with the current situation of the world, you know, is it because of the negativity that we're surrounding ourselves with? And if so, help each of these people to walk away from that negativity, to set boundaries for their internet, for the people, for whatever it is, and to use that time that they are no longer surfing and in the presence of the enemy, but spending time with you to strengthen their resolve, to grow them and shape them, and to help them see the things they need to see, to pick those nuggets out. I can't help but see this all as like a video game, because that's how people relate, in that the next nugget is strength, and the next nugget is courage, and the next nugget is removing fear, and knowing that we're not defined by other people's junk, and that we're not defined by other people's inability to see our worth, that you, Papa, dictate our worth. And when we learn to serve you and you alone, instead of all of these other serving the enemy, and giving him a foothold and letting him sit in the corner with us, we need to pull into you. And Papa, I just ask that you strengthen everybody that's watching this, everybody that's watching the replay. I ask that you be with our community, our YouTube community. I ask that you be with Deb, and I ask that you lift her up, give her courage and strength, wrap your loving arms around her, that she feels the peace from you and you alone. And Papa, just be with her and guide her steps, guide her specialists, and lead the way, Papa. Lead the way for them. And Papa, I lift up Laura to you. Papa, I praise you for her. I praise you for her transparency. I praise you for what you're doing in her life. I praise you for how she's inspiring and encouraging people in our community. And Papa, I just ask that you wrap your loving arms around her. Give her the peace and comfort she needs today. Help her to rest in you. Help her to feel the comfort of resting in you. And just continue to lead the way for her. Help her to hear your still small voice. Help her to find comfort of wisdom and knowledge, direction, discernment in you. And I ask the same for everybody else that's present and watching. Papa, just give us that wisdom, knowledge, direction, and discernment, and help us to feel your presence. Help us to hear the still small voice. Help us to see the little signs that you make very clear in our lives. And Papa, give us the hope and knowing that we don't need to worry about all this dishevelment in our country, all this oddities in our body, that you have purpose in everything, that there is purpose in absolutely everything, and that we can find peace in the chaos. Help everybody to find that peace in the chaos. Help them to be able to focus on what they can control. Help them to focus on the gratitude and the beauties and the amazing things that you are doing right around them, that currently they might be missing just because they're so fearful and worried. Papa, help us all to be a light to you. May your light shine through all of our cracks, because we are all cracked vessels. We are all sinners, but your light is meant to shine through our cracks. So continue to grow us that our light shines bright. Papa, just thank you for this day, for all you're going to do, for your love, your mercy, your grace, and all you are doing. And I just ask all of this in your holy and precious name of Jesus. Amen. And I just want to say, this came to me while I was praying. You know, I was in that place of fear, and I was in that place of listening to the enemy tell me I was lazy and worthless and all of that. And then Papa said to me, I'm going to use you out of that place. I bought the Bible. I never wrote in a Bible before. I didn't want to deface it. I share that often. This Bible is written up all over the place, and it's meant to be colored. So I colored in it. And you know, when you're coloring and doodling, you remember things so much greater. This is the NLT version versus the King James. I felt like I had ping pong balls going through my head every time I read a thee and a thou. I still do. That just blew it. I don't comprehend the King James version, and I'll be the first to admit it. Although I do pray that Papa does eventually help me to understand it, and I will be grateful. But get one that you can read, and read it, and mark it up, and let him speak to you. Because he spoke to my heart then, and I wrote the date, and I wrote the what it meant to me, and now I read it, and the notes I wrote bless me just as much as rereading it, and I get more out of it. Read your Bible. You know, you hear people say that all the time. I tried reading it my whole life growing up, and it didn't do anything for me. I wasn't in the right place. Now I am, and I want to learn it, and I want to know it, and I want to know him. And honestly, guys, I can wholeheartedly say to you that the Word and Papa are the answer to absolutely every question we ever have. And he is the answer to pull ourselves out of places that we don't know the answers to or how to get out otherwise. He is it. Keep your eyes on him and keep focused on him. He is the answer. I love you all. I've got to jump off of here. I'm late for breath work. I'll see you guys next week. God bless. Love you all.